things you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Keep this frequency clear.
And now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute. That powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
You're watching The Truth is Viral, the only news program on the internet trusted to deliver the truth since 2008. And now, here's your host, Mr. Bobby Powell.
After talking to deputy sheriffs and police officers from around the country over the last few weeks, including the ones here in Alpena, I am convinced, however, that when the time comes, they will stand on the side of righteousness. I have no doubt about that. They're going to uphold their oaths to protect the citizens in their charge, including me, against a federal government run amok. I'm betting my life on it, as a matter of fact. Now, I'd like to take just a few seconds to speak to those people that have chosen law enforcement as your career, because I know you're watching this video. I don't care if you're a federal law enforcement officer, state, county, or municipal. This applies to you. This applies to members of the military as well. You swore an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, I'm here to tell you that that wording wasn't by accident. The men and women who came before you knew that one day you would have to take a stand in your community to fight against a tyrannical government, because street crime doesn't count when you're defending the Constitution. It's two totally separate animals. No, the oath was put in there to remind you of your duty, and I'm here to do that as well. When asked what kind of a government was established, Benjamin Franklin famously said, "A republic if you can keep it." Now, are you going to defend the republic, the Constitution, and the God-given natural rights of man, and your friends, your neighbors, and your loved ones? Are you going to allow the warrantless arrest of citizens in your jurisdiction by government goons contracted by XE and KBR and Halliburton? I have to ask, are you going to allow the federal government or any of its agents to ignore the Constitution, throw your friends and family into detention without a charge simply for disagreeing with the government? Are you going to allow them to be killed without a fair trial like they killed Anwar al-Awlaki? Are you going to allow them to be slaves? No, that's not hyperbole. Allow me to quote from Barack Obama's Executive Order 13603, signed into law on March 16th, which states, "Executive departments and agencies responsible for plans and programs related to national defense shall A, identify requirements for the full spectrum of emergencies, including essential military and civilian demand. Assess on an ongoing basis the capability of the domestic, industrial, and technological base to satisfy requirements in peacetime and times of national emergency." In peacetime and times of national emergency. That's a very important phrase, remember that. Specifically evaluating the availability of the most critical resource and production sources, including subcontractors and suppliers, materials, skilled labor, and professional and technical personnel. Okay, so that tells you what the government wants, what they want to seize at will. Anybody and anything, basically. Now here comes the scary part from subsection 502. The head of each agency is delegated the authority of the President under Section 710B and C of the Act, 50 U.S. Code, Act 2160B and C, to employ persons of outstanding ability and experience without compensation. Let that phrase sink in for just a moment, will you please? to employ persons of outstanding ability and experience without compensation. This document does not differentiate between an expert in biological terrorism and an expert ditch digger. It doesn't make any difference what you do for a living. If Barack Hussein Obama or one of his minions requires your services, well, then it's time to lift that barge and tote that bale, Sambo. I don't care who you are. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you prefer to call your own. Left, right, center, communist, neocon. There's only one definition for forced, uncompensated labor. That definition is slavery. Wasn't the most destructive war in American history fought in part to abolish slavery? The entire idea of forced, uncompensated employment is abhorrent to any civilized man or woman, and here it raises its ugly head again in the form of an executive order from our supposed president. I find it particularly ironic that this executive order was signed by a black man. You'd think he'd know better. But he's operating on somebody else's agenda now, isn't he? Now, I urge you to read this executive order for yourself. I put the link in the description below this video. I'm not making this up. You can go see it for yourself in the government archives. I will not allow slavery and murder to be the new paradigm in my country. My children and grandchildren will not be conscripted for forced labor as long as I draw breath. Nor will I stand idly by as your children or your grandchildren, your brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers are taken away to be put into these camps run by these satanically inspired bastards. Think that's hyperbole too? Well, it's not. Here's a recently leaked Army manual entitled FM 3-39.040 Internment and Resettlement Operations. It details how American citizens are to be rounded up and put into these re-education camps. It talks about how military-style psyops are to be used to torture and brainwash inmates into compliance. The link to that Army document is also in the description below this video. I'm not pulling this stuff out of my butt, people. It's there in official government documents for all to see. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is undeniable fact. Now, I will continue to fight for truth, justice, and the real American way as long as I'm able. To do this, I need your help. I still do. I always will. I need you to become part of my army. I need you to spread my videos, all the ones I've done in the past as well, to every forum where you have a presence. Because a lot of people don't know that President Obama supported Al-Qaeda to overthrow Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi. They don't know that it was Qatari and Lebanese and Syrian soldiers that killed Muammar Gaddafi and not Libyan rebels. They don't know that they're doing the same thing in Syria right now. I will not be silent. I don't care what they do. They can't do anything that Father won't allow. I'm going to continue to spread the truth, and I'm going to continue to speak out against tyranny and lies and injustice and the obfuscations of the pretender-in-chief for as long as I'm able. And I'm going to continue this investigation into the explosion that happened here in northeastern Michigan that rocked hundreds of square miles that's not being talked about by any of the local media until I can't. And finally, I want to make it very clear that I am not now, I have never, and I will never advocate violent action against the government or any person. In my opinion, violence is a last resort that should only be used when you or your immediate family is in danger of losing their life. Timothy McVeigh knowingly murdered innocent men, women, and children to make a point, and that scumbag is reaping his just reward in hell right now. Terrorism and murder are the tactics of the globalist scumbags that we're hoping to defeat. Those maggots that think that they can turn our country into a prison camp, a re-education camp, a death camp. They are not the tactics of a patriot or a human being. We must maintain our honor and defend the innocent at all costs. Otherwise, we're no better than they are. I will give my own life before I take the life of an innocent, or by omission of action allow an innocent to be harmed. I expect everyone that hears my voice to take that same pledge, or I want nothing to do with you. Now, I'm not a prophet, okay? But it doesn't take one to see that we're in for some pretty dark times ahead. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian, Jew, Muslim, atheist, Buddhist, or Hindu. Everybody's in for a rough time. I don't know whether it's going to come in the form of an economic collapse or war, but I know it's coming, and so do you. Everybody can feel it. Something is about to change. I know that what I'm counting on. And I'm hoping that a lot of you do too. But, I'm not sure that there's anything that we can do to stop any of this, to keep our country from being turned into some type of Orwellian nightmare. But we have to stand up for what's right. We have to do the right thing. And we have to save as many people as possible. We've got to wake them up. So send my videos to all your friends. Email them. Put it on a mass mailing list. Get this truth out there, because I guarantee you one thing. Other shows may be ranting and raving and acting all crazy and giving the definition to conspiracy theorists and with the tinfoil hats and everything. But you will never see anything on this show that I can't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's the one thing I guarantee you. So until next time, I'm your host, Bob Powell. Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral. Thank you for supporting the show. And what can I say but God bless, Semper Fi, and hoorah.